All right. So I have a guest with me that may or may not be a guest, but I got my buddy David Saldana coming on in 22 minutes. This time of the year is my favorite time of the year, and the same thing happens every single year for the past 7 years. Oh, I forgot to start the show. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of 8192 The Truth. This is Joel D. Supernaw for my partner, who is missing in action, Kevin, brother Cincinnati. Welcome. We have Matty Sprague here, but he may or may not talk. I think once I start talking wrestling, he might say something. So anyway, every year for past 7 years, that's when NCAA wrestling started really being promoted on ESPN, where you could watch the first round, second round, third round, quarterfinals, semifinals, finals. The same thing happens to me. I get hooked, and by this day, which is Friday, it started yesterday. By this day, I start planning my comeback. By the end of today, I will have mapped out how I'm going to be wrestling at the Senior Opens next year to make the World Veterans team. I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna do all the things I didn't do when I was younger. I'm still in shape. I can do it, man. I'm fired up. This is the best sport in the world. Because what happens over the next yesterday and today and tomorrow is I'm the best me I've ever been. I'm still 21 years old. I'm still on the wrestling mat, but I'm actually better than I was ever before. Like, I don't lose any matches the next 3 days. In my head, this is an NCAA wrestling tournament. It is the best wrestling tournament in the world. Now, there's the Olympics. There's the World Championships. Maddie's leaving. Maddie, are you coming back? Or you just left?
I'll come back.
You coming back? All right. It's the best wrestling tournament in the world. We watch it. My buddy Matty Sprague, who he may come in, he may talk or not. Matty Sprague was a multiple-time junior national champion. Went to University of Oregon, misplaced and was almost an All-American. Watch it with Chael. Chael loves it, and when we're out working, whoever can watch the matches will text us what the results are. Now, Matty is, he's got a different style of texting. You need to interpret things when Matty sends you a text. Well, yesterday during would have been the second championship round, Matty sent me and Chael a text. It was one word. It said coon, and it had 2 fire emojis on it. Well, the first thing me and Chael think is, oh, wow, Coon lost. No, it meant Coon won, and he looked great. That was in Matty speak. But anyway, Matty, why did you send us a text? I mean, can you at least jump in the pod and tell us why you sent us a text that said Coon, 2 fire emojis? Like we would not know what that meant.
He's on fire.
He's on fire! Ah, see, now it makes sense. I apologize.
He's not going to lose a match this weekend.
Oh, you're on Coon. Okay, so Maddie, am I on to something when I'm saying this weekend? Are you going to talk or not? All right, this weekend, do you get
special?
You get a little swagger in your step.
Oh, yeah.
You're 22 years old again.
Oh yeah. Yep.
But you're a Judicon, so you're not planning on making the wrestling comeback, but you're still getting your Judicon on. So the best story in NCAA wrestling weekend we don't know what it is yet. It's not the story of Ohio State or Penn State winning the national championship. Well, right now there's a kid 15-16 in the quarterfinals from Eastern Michigan. He's going up against Bryce Meredith. So he could become the story today. The story may be written from a guy that have never heard of before, who lost his first match and comes back and wins 7 matches in the Wrestlebacks to take 3rd place. But there's a story. The story of the tournament is, we don't even know what it is yet. It's gonna fall out the next 2 days, and it's probably not gonna fall out in the championship match. It may. somebody may make it. Some unseeded wrestler may make it to the championships. I think there's 2 unseeded guys in the quarters. So it's all but it could be anybody. It could be anybody, and it could be anything. And then, sure as shit, and what's going to happen is, I'm making my big comeback today, and then boy, tomorrow I'll be in it, and then the final round will take place, and I'll watch it, and then about the last match, I'll start thinking, I'm not going to wrestling practice on Monday. It'll come to me, man. I can go run, and I can go swim, and I can go lift weights. I'll even throw punches. I'll even do a little boxy box. But I'm not going to wrestling on Monday. And then the depression, then the finals will be over, and then the depression will come over me, and it'll last for about 3 days. I won't call Maddie. We won't talk about. I'll disappear.
Yep, a little post-wrestling depression.
Yeah, happens every year, and then I'll move on to the rest of my life. The open freestyle wrestling. I mean, we follow wrestling pretty well for being out of the sport as long as we have. I have no ties to it. You have, Maddie's dad is a legendary Hall of Fame coacher out here in Portland. Mark Spring Sr.
Thank you, Joel.
Well, then you gotta give Sprague a rub.
Thank you, Joel.
So Maddie still does a little bit. He still does a little bit, but not much. Chael does very little. He follows it. He does very little. So I don't have any ties to it. Now Lad's going to start wrestling this year, and again, I try to tell myself, dude, get the weight off. Be skinny, Joel, so you can because Lad's big. Lad's already 100. Let's see, what would I have Lad wrestle next year? He's 170 now, and he's a little soft. I think I could muscle him up into a 67 pounder by next. Is that high school weight? They got weights every 2 pounds in high school out here. Do you know if that's a weight?
Which one?
The 160s.
Yeah, 165.
Yeah, so I would have Lad wrestle 165 next year. He's going to take a beating. I mean, there's no way around it. But the one thing about wrestling is, and I watch it every year. We were talking about it yesterday. It was me and Matty Sprague, and we got a new guy that jumped in, Scotty Byers and Chael, and 4 old wrestlers just living it up through the NCAA wrestling tournament. And if I could go back and talk to myself, I would have took out half of the technique I ever used, and I would have kept 4 positions, and that's all I would have done. I wouldn't even have listened to I would tell 16-year-old Joel, because that's when I started getting it. I would say, these are your 4 positions. If anybody talk about any other positions, don't listen and get back to this position. Is that a good? I mean, what do you think? Do you think we overtech these kids?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's you never know with Matty. You never know when he might pop off and say something cool. But I appreciate Matty. He's been buying my coffee the last couple weeks. So anyway, I would do that, and that's what I'll do with Lad. Lad will be in all-phase wrestling, and they teach him a lot of technique, too much technique. I think technique is basically for the coaches, so the coaches can show the kids how much technique they know, because every technique doesn't work for every kid. A heavyweight isn't gonna take a drop down outside single leg.
I gotta take the kids to school.
Go get your kids to school.
Thank you, Joel. Bye.
I gotta go. I love it. My next part of my podcast is talking about going.
You'll have a better guest than Maddie.
Yeah, Maddie wasn't a real guest. He was, but we love Maddie.
I was listening and I was observing.
He was observing.
Bye, Biddy.
All right. So, where was I? So the kids, the coaches teach more technique than the kids need to know. Now, you're really, really, really advanced kids that you're going to get as a coach. You're going to get 3 or 4 advanced kids in your entire career. If you're a fanatic like All Phase Wrestling, like Coach Sprague was, you might get 15. You might get 15 kids, but that's out of 10,000 kids that are going to be that advanced. Now, there's some kids, and I think I would put myself in that category. Looking back, that would have done better. That would have done better if I dummied down my technique. If I stayed in 4 positions, maybe 5 positions, and got to those positions, just made myself get to those positions. And you can do that in wrestling out of heart. The other guy's going to fight to get in his position. You're going to fight to get in your position. And then it's the hardest thing you'll ever do. Wrestling's the hardest thing you'll ever do. So about the 4.5 minute mark, the guy with the biggest heart is going to be able to get to his position the most. So that's what I'd like to have Lad focus on. Figuring out what those positions are, that takes a little time. But yeah, that's the NCAA wrestling tournament up in a nutshell. So I have a meeting with Lad's counselor at 8 o'clock. And as a matter of fact, I don't want to talk about this. I'm not going to talk about this. We're going to have Dave Saldana on in exactly 10 minutes. And that's going to be about the time it takes me to drive to Westland High School, where I'm going to go meet with Lad's counselor. What I had planned on Maddie Sprague joining the discussion about amateur wrestling. So I'm caught. I'm caught right now. Oh! Oh my goodness! I think I tried to talk about this last week, but I didn't. And I'm glad it didn't, because it has now manifested itself into something more. T Wood. I cannot say Teron Woodley. Teron. I can't say that name. I can't say. So T Wood, the welterweight champion in the UFC, he came out last week and he said he's getting ready to train up Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather can be ready to fight in the UFC in 3 or 4 months. All right, so something happens, and there's a disconnect with fame, and that disconnect, it's for all of us. It's for all of us. Everybody gets a little bit of shine, just a little bit of shine, and they start thinking life works differently. Doesn't matter what that shine is. It could be at work. You could get a promotion at work, and people start treating you better. You start making some more money. You start getting a little bit of shine. Man, you're gonna change. Chances are you're gonna change a little bit. All the way up to the people that we consider famous. T Wood is famous. Floyd Mayweather is really, really famous. And there's something that happens. It changes people's perspective. CM Punk fought and got annihilated last year. He's going to come back and fight somebody who's not very good. It's going to be CM Punk might win. It's going to be an amateur fight. But the people around CM Punk because CM Punk had fame, had this big wrestling fame, still does to a certain degree, still has pretty good shine, people's perspective changes. The outside person, the CM Punk thing was a joke. It doesn't, the Floyd Mayweather, see, Floyd Mayweather is never, ever in the history of the world going to spar a mixed martial arts fighter who is just a little bit better, let's say an amateur mixed martial arts fighter who has had 10 fights and won 7 of them. That's the kind of category. I'm not talking about a guy that's going to be in the UFC. I'm not talking about a guy that's going to make it to the undercard of Bellator. I'm talking about a guy that is 7-3 as an amateur fighter, might have wrestled for 2 years in high school, and he's been training mixed martial arts for 3 or 4 years. Okay? If Floyd Mayweather spars with that caliber of a fighter, truly spars with him, he would call it all off. He would call it all off. Floyd I couldn't even get through it. I could only read the headlines, and once Floyd started, and I wouldn't say I'm a Floyd. I like Floyd. I do. I like Floyd. I'm not the guy that roots for him to die or anything. He's got faults like all of us, but I would say I like Floyd. So Floyd said it might take him 8 months, but he's going to get into this mixed martial arts fighting, and he rated his wrestling a 7 out of 10. At that point, now we've jumped the shark. We were already in fantasy land to begin with, thinking Floyd Mayweather was ever going to fight in the UFC. There would be anybody he could fight in the UFC. The only person he could fight in the UFC, and I think he'd be giving up quite too much size, would be either CM Punk or the guy that CM Punk is probably going to fight, this Mike Jackson guy, who is not a fighter. He's not a professional fighter. He's barely an amateur fighter. So our perspective is so flawed when we add it to a famous person. A famous or rich person can tell us they're going to do anything in the world. And if we want something from them, whether it be feeling like it'd be cool to hang out with them, maybe a promotion, if we want anything from them as a human being, we are going to manifest the delusion. We are going to encourage the delusion. So here's Floyd Mayweather. And the only person that I know of that is going to talk to Floyd Mayweather properly is his dad. His dad said, no, Floyd ain't doing that. No. His cousin, Jeff Mayweather, he at least said if Floyd gets taken down, he's gonna get murdered. So the only one giving him any real advice is his dad. There's nobody in his inner circle that would give Floyd Mayweather any advice at all that would tell him to go ahead with this nonsense. Floyd Mayweather will never, ever, 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 ever ever fight in the UFC. If you believe that he would fight a true professional fighter in the UFC, you're delusional. If you if you want to jump the shark, if you want to jump the shark and say that he would fight Conor McGregor in the UFC, you have lost your mind. Do you know what Conor McGregor would do to Floyd inside that cage? Oh man, it would. He wouldn't just run through him, man. He would humiliate him. Would I like to see it? Yeah, if Floyd is that stupid and everybody is that stupid around Floyd, T Wood. T Wood, come on. T Wood fell down this trap last time. T Wood got dusted up last time over the CM Punk. You know what? Well, I can't throw shade on T Wood. He's rich and famous. I'm not. Yeah, I can. Yeah, I can. And I'm going to. T Wood, come on. Get off that. All right, now I am going to call my buddy, Dave Saldana, and we're going to do the last 15 minutes of our show. And then I'm going to go inside.
Hi, Joel.
Mr. Saldana, how are you, sir?
Hey, can you hear me?
I can hear you fine. Can you hear me? We can hear you fine. You can hear me fine?
Hold on a second. Have the speaker on.
Yeah, that happens. Technology's hard.
Yeah, it is.
All right.
I'm behind.
All right. David, I explained briefly that, you and I grew up together. I want to ask you about your family, David, but goddamn, it's been so many years. That's the worst. That's the worst thing to ask somebody when you haven't seen them in 35 years. So let me do this. I hope your entire family is well. How about that?
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay. Go on.
I'm sorry.
Go on.
Now, about the family, which you didn't know her. I was married once, and my wife, and now I have a new wife. My new wife, and I always say the first wife or the first marriage is always practice. So this one's fantastic, and we have one son.
Oh, and how is he doing?
Oh, he's doing good. Well, as you know, he fought cancer from 2.5 to 6 and had leukemia, but he's doing real well now. And we moved down here to Florida, and he's loving it.
Okay, great. So David, when did you get out? Because I left right after high school. I moved away, and I've been back 5 or 6 times since I got done with high school. When did you move away, and have you lived back in our hometown of Bradley Bourbonis since high school?
No. Well, yes and no. I moved away right after high school. Actually came down to where I'm at now. And then from here was down here in Florida for about 6 months. And then actually went to Pennsylvania, went to a year of college out there, then moved to California, then moved back to Florida. And from Florida, I was in Europe for a month and came back and went back to Illinois when I was 22 and opened a pizza place with Darren King. And by the time we were 25, we had 3 of them and then sold off. And then from there, after 25, I was gone. Took off and worked for a resort company. So, no, I've not been back there since, well, I've been back there, but not lived there since I was 25. It's a long time.
All right, let me ask you one question, and then we'll get to the meat of this thing. Did you steal anybody's girlfriend in high school that they, up to this time, right now on the planet Earth, they don't know about?
No, absolutely not.
I don't. Okay, then let me ask it a different. Let me ask it a different way. Did you steal anybody's girlfriend in high school?
Not that I know of. Let's say that. Not that I know of. That's a politician answer.
That is. All right. So So David, first off, thanks for listening to me on Chael's podcast. Thanks for following this podcast. Thanks for all the advice you've given me. But you,
Unsolicited advice. I know you don't ask for it, but I like to see everybody do well.
well,
I think you're doing great.
thank you, brother. So you have I'm starting to get it a little bit because what you sent me yesterday is you are in the
Bulletproof business.
oh, just the bulletproof business.
I don't sell guns. I don't sell ammo. I don't sell any of that. Strictly bulletproof products. With the exception of a couple vests that aren't bulletproof, but they carry bulletproof products. So, yes, I'm not strictly, because I think on the pod you talked about, you weren't sure if I did guns, this or that, but no, strictly in the protective business.
Okay, I like that. I like that quite a bit more. I thought you had the full gamut and that the bulletproof backpack was so. Let me ask you this: how big? First off, what's your company's name? What's the website?
Okay. Well, I have two parts of the company, and one part of the company is for dealers only, so it's not for the general public, and that's called Level 4 Armor. And right now, I've got dealers in 10 states that carry that line. But because I'm small, I'm just a small business guy like yourself trying to make it. I can't reach out to the entire United States. I just don't have, the backing to do that. So I started a website called armoronly.com that we only advertise in states that I do not have dealers, because out of respect to my dealers, I don't want to take away from business from them. So I guess what we'll talk about today is armoronly.com. And that is, again, for the general public. In fact, my tagline is protection for the people. My business is all about the people. I don't go after the police. I don't go to service the military. I'm strictly for the average Joe.
Okay, get to this. Let's. I love that. But you're in the shops are the same. The same people that sell guns are selling the bulletproof products, correct?
Yeah. Yes. My one line, which is the same product, it just flies under a different flag, is for dealers only. Again, I give it to them at wholesale, and then they resell it at retail. But that has nothing to do with kind of what we'll talk about today, I guess. But yes, I do have them as my dealers. But what's most important for your crowd and people across the United States is armoronly.com has all my products on it, and again, it's all focused around the average Joe. Just not looking. You ain't got to be a millionaire to buy the stuff. It's priced reasonable, and the products are top notch.
How did you get into this? That's what we're going to talk about shortly. Is the bulletproof insert for a backpack. As I'm walking, I'm waiting outside Ladd's High School. I'm going to go meet with his counselors. Every single student that I see walking in has a backpack. Every teacher has a purse. So tell me about that product. And like I've said in the past, man, I'm just going to give you the mic and you run with it. It's unfortunate that is actually a really good idea. It's unfortunate that we, if you told us that, David, when we were in grade school together or high school together, you would be like, what in the hell?
Never thought the world would have come to this, which I agree. And it is unfortunate. And, it's irony, really. My business even picks up more when there's bad things that happen, and truly I wish the bad things wouldn't happen, and we would just, roll with that. I'd rather have less business and those tragedies not happen, but unfortunately it's become part of daily life.
It's and it's not going anywhere, man. It's not going anywhere. The problem, David, is that these kids that have grown up playing these video games and watching news and all this social media, and we're all hooked to our phone. They don't understand this is real life. This is real life. The children that are doing this they're children, man, and not all of them are stable. So I don't want to get into that. Let's get into your product. Let's get into that line
Sure.
and
Well,
run with it.
let me say, first of all, I did not design the idea of a backpack insert for backpacks for handguns. Okay? Now, and I'll give you a quick rundown, Reader's Digest, of protection levels. And this is not something I said. This is something that's across the United States set by the National Institute of Justice. Level 3A is for handguns protection from a 44 Magnum down to a 22. Okay? That backpack insert for something like that, it's been out for a while. It's been out prior to probably even myself getting into the business 4 years ago. But I do have that. I've got a backpack insert that only weighs 1 pound, 3 ounces, and it's on armoronly.com. Again, 1 pound, 3 ounces. It's flexible. It will stop a 44 Magnum down to a 22 at point blank range. And it just smashes the bullets. You'll see on the site what the bullets look like. In fact, I need to give this guy a plug. I don't know him. There's a video on YouTube with these guys that do reviews. It's Harleywood 23. Just like Harley, but Harleywood 23. He actually got a hold of some of my stuff and did a review on it. And you'll see him on there shooting my backpack insert, the level 3A for handguns, with the 44 Magnum. And then you'll also see so that's for handguns. I don't want to get out of step here. The next thing is for rifles, and it's called level 3. So not 3A, but level 3 is for rifles. And then there's level 4. And there's also level 3 plus, which is kind of made up by the industry itself, not by the NIJ. So again, level 3A is for handguns, and level 3 is for rifles. Now, what I did come up with, but go to that Harleywood 23, and you'll see the backpack being shot, and you'll also see that level 3 plate being shot with active shooter rounds. You know, what these crazy people use in these shootings, which is a 5.56 that fits in an AR-15 or a 308 or an AK-47 round. My rifle insert will stop all that stuff. So, but the industry's had a backpack insert for handguns for quite a while. I just designed mine. It's much lighter, it's flexible, and it's extremely strong. It's not Kevlar. It's what's called ultra-high molecular weight polyethylene. And I'm not going to get in the weeds and the detail too much, but bottom line, it's super light. And when it comes to armor, the lighter it is, the more expensive it is. It's kind of reverse of diamonds. You know, diamonds, you go over a carat, it's more expensive. 2 carats, more expensive. Armor, you go down a pound or 2 pounds, prices jump like crazy. I don't sell steel or anything like that. So, but what I did come up with, and this nobody has. There's not one armor company in the United States that sells this product I'm going to talk to you about. I have come out with a backpack insert, okay, that only weighs 4.4 pounds, and that is super light for armor. It will stop all your active shooter rounds, which is 5.56 that goes into an AR-15, 223, which goes into AR-15s, a 308, which is like a hunting rifle, or AK-47 rounds, which is 7.62 by 39. So this backpack insert that you'll find on armoronly.com will actually, again, stop rifles. The reason I made it, I've had customers saying, great, have this for a backpack for handguns, but, you know, these active shooter things are rifles. So what I did is I designed it and had it made with the size is 10 inches wide by 15 inches tall, and it's kind of cut on the side, so it fits perfect in a backpack. And for a high school kid, college kid, not even just kids. You go to a concert these days, you're flying on a plane, you're going somewhere, having your backpack that hardly weighs anything, and if something comes down, you either put it on the front of you or put it on the back to you, and at least you have a shot to live.
Yeah, there's no good way to explain that. There's no good way to explain that. And the reality is, it doesn't matter. None of that matters. Is do you, for me, I think it's taken a step. It's doing something now. If I'm gonna do that, if I'm gonna, for me, if I'm gonna, get one, buy one for Lad, I got to walk in this school and have a hard conversation with the people at this school to say, hey, we need to prepare for this because we're not prepared for this. And it doesn't matter if it never, ever, 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 ever happens. We win. We didn't lose anything, and I think that is my statement on your product. Last question. Last question I got, David, and then you can tie this up and piece us out. Is do you have anybody? Who did you pick for the Final Four?
Well, and I know this is going to shock you, but I actually don't keep up with it anymore. I kind of, with when my son got sick and life took over, my focus kind of went to other things. So, which is a shock to you, but I haven't picked anybody. I just don't keep up with it as much as I used to, in high school.
All right. Well, let's do this. We'll just say you picked Kansas. I want you to go ahead.
Of course, got to pick your alma mater. Hey, I want to tell you something real quick.
Well, hold on, David. I'm gonna let you close the show. So give me the final pitch and then piece us out.
Okay. Well, first of all, I know you had me on because you thought this would be a great idea to introduce to your audience in a non-selfish way, and there's nothing I appreciate more than somebody doing something and never expecting anything in return. And, when I listen to you, talking and to all these people, doing your best to give advice and entertain people, you do it because you love it. You don't necessarily expect anything in return. And to me, I appreciate that. And one thing I'm going to throw this on you, and you didn't expect this, but what I'm going to do, I want to make, kind of sponsor the show and also make a donation. For the rest of this year, what I'd like to do for ArmorOnly.com, anything that any of your listeners buy off the site, because what they can put is how did you hear about us, and they have to fill it out. At the bottom, they can put other, and they can put 8192 the truth. Okay? So if they go to our site, buy something, they check out at the bottom, they can click other and put 8192 the truth. They can put Joel, they can put whatever. I'd like to take 10% of net sales for the rest of this year and divide that between two places, because my wife and I love the vets and appreciate the vets. I'd like to take that 10% and divide it between Extreme Couture GI Foundation and 8192 the truth.
I love that.
The rest of this year.
I love that.
Get back a little bit.
All right, well, I thank you for that. Peace us out, David. I got to get in this high school message. I love you, buddy. I'll talk to you soon.
Deuces, guys. Peace out. See you, Joel.